Hi, this is Shu with a review of the latest Damian Lillard signature, the Dame 7. Interestingly, because of some issues I heard from factories in China, this is not widely distributed around the world. Here in South Korea, it's not officially released, so I had to wait for them to be shipped from overseas. Interestingly, some models and some other brands, they get released in Korea earlier than other countries, so I guess that's also another issue of shipping or factory issues because of the virus situation around the world. Anyway, the Dame 7, I love the design. It's quite refreshing. It kept the certain aspects of the silhouettes of the past Dames intact, at the same time going in a whole new different direction. So you'll either hate it or love it. For me, I love the bold attempt, and it's got the silhouette of the Dames, but some added new features that makes it look like a very radical new shoe for a radical new player. I love this colorway because, for one, some might call it Sour Patch colorway or the lime green, Volt green. So this green colorway is quite symbolic in some sense. Most recently, Jamal Murray, when he took over the games, he was actually wearing this colorway of the Dame 5s, and Damian Lillard was also wearing these neon colored Dame 5s when he was making that shot where Paul George said it was a bad shot when Lillard made the logo shot in the playoffs to send the Thunder packing home. So this is why I thought this was a nice color, and they had a lot of weird singular colors or two-tone colors that didn't really seem to fly for some reason. So this is a colorway that I chose, and it looks really good, even better in person. I am my own fan, so basically Damian Lillard really doesn't care about what hecklers say. And there are a lot of interesting wordings around. Some of them don't really make grammatical sense. I guess he's Dame Dollar, the rappers, might sometimes get a little bit more creative and going beyond the boundaries of grammar, I suppose. First of all, it fits true to size for me. Some might say it's a little bit too big, but compared to the Dame 6, this is a little bit more snug. But of course, compared to regular size 9s, as in my regular size, it does have a little bit of a space in the toe box area, but that's usually the case for most Adidas shoe. As for the width, I feel it's okay. It's not too wide, not too narrow. If you have really narrow foot and you want a really snug fit, then you can go down half a size. But most of the times, in most cases, you are going to be wearing some thick socks and maybe even some braces and whatnot, and you do need some breathing room in your foot. You will feel the difference in the size of your foot depending on the time of the day. So I always say it's better to have a little bit more room than to have it really tight and eating into your toenails or deforming your foot if you're still growing. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. The upper material is similar to the ones used in the Dame 6, kind of like this mesh material, double mesh material with an inner booty that's all around. So it's not exactly the most breathable shoe out there. It's, in terms of lockdown, it's got interesting lace loops even here, so you could really pull the heel all the way up if you feel a little bit insecure. Speaking of security around the heels, they do have a solid heel cup or heel counter inside, and the padding, I love the ankle padding. These little winter wear jacket padding type of pattern here. It really hugs and firmly positions your ankle and cradles your Achilles heel nicely without chafing or providing any kind of discomfort. So this is one of the best ankle, Achilles heel hugging design or padding that I've felt in a while. Arguably the best. So if this is important for you, this is the shoe you want to go with. They have some interesting plasticky, rubbery plasticky material all around. It's for design aesthetics, but they don't serve any special purpose, I think. Overall, the Light Strike foam, it's homogeneous. It's the same singular Light Strike midsole. They did have some degree of reinforcement, dual density here, different on the top and at the bottom in the Dame 6. So I think this kind of helps with a little bit of lateral stability to prevent inversion. Ooh, tenet. So the side, the shape of the shoe itself, it's kind of similar to the Dawn Issue ones, of course, but of course Dawn Issue 1 is a lot wider, a little bit narrower, and as you can tell, the 7 got even a little bit narrower than the 6. It feels a little less stable than the 6. It's not anyway higher off the ground than the 6. Instead of the thickness of the in terms of the thickness of the midsole, it's similar to the 6, but in terms of lateral stability, I felt the 6 was a little bit better. I wish they would have stuck to something like the 5, which was huge, which is this thick midsole bunion-like thing out there to provide some counter resistance, work as a type of an outrigger here. So that's a little sad. Not exactly progress there. And speaking of the cushioning, it feels pretty much identical to the Dame 6. The same problem I had with the Dame 6 I had with the Dame 7. They placed the anti-inversion or I guess sort of a support plate, torsion plate, right underneath the strobel board. So yeah, although the Light Strike foam is really soft, that hard layer kind of like negates the cushioning at the bottom. Why can't they put it right here, right before the outsole starts? I don't know. I guess they are okay with that. But because the Light Strike foam is soft enough, it doesn't feel as bad as having this rigid plastic underneath your foot, like the time they did it with the Dame Force, when they just had a more firmer bounce material and a very minimal strobel board. So the insole itself is very minimal EVA, but it gets the job done. If you feel like you might get blisters because of the plate, then you might want to choose a little bit of a thicker or more rich PU or Ortholite insole. But the given minimal EVA insole itself, it feels just nice. I feel that it's a little bit softer than the Dame 6 in some sense. Dame 6 actually changed the insole a little bit, and even with the thicker insole, it feels almost identical with the 7 with the given insole. The heel, there's a little bit of an improvement I feel in the heel, especially because the Dame 6 Light Strike was, you could immediately feel the Light Strike working underneath your foot, but it felt like the heel had the same kind of density as the forefoot, or a similar level of thickness. So I felt an immediate compression, but the compression was a little bit too fast. So I felt the shoe bottoming out quickly, just expanding and being flat as soon as I land. So I could feel a little bit of that vibration, you know, when you land. So I thought they could have done a better job with that. Harden 4, I think it had a bit of a different density. It had a better heel shock absorption than Dame 6. Dame 6 was plusher, softer, but it felt like the midsole dissipated or sort of like ran out on you a little bit fast. So they made the change here where it's a little bit denser and it's a little bit more resistant, so you don't feel it just going flat and letting you feel a certain level of impact. So that's a good upgrade from the Dame 6. The outsole pattern, you can see that it's very similar to the Thunder pattern that you see from, was it Lightning? The Lightning pattern you see from Why Not 03. And Why Not 03 was not exactly the most grippy outsole out there. And this is actually worse than Why Not 03, so it's still a very poor outsole pattern. Definitely better and an upgrade from Dame 5, but it's pretty similar to the Dame 6. In some sense, Dame 6 had better grip than the Dame 7, especially when it was like, when it was grinding a little bit and it was worn off a little bit. It seemed to be getting a little bit better. This one, you won't see that happening. It's very similar to the 6. I would say it may even be, in some sense, a little bit more inferior than the 6 because this is super sensitive to dust. So, and also the grooves the blade is not as thick and durable as a 6, so don't expect the grinding will improve, because once you feel that improvement in terms of the outsole grippiness, then it's slowly approaching the time to say goodbye to the shoe, because it's going to be bald pretty soon. I'm speaking about relativity, of course. There are much worse outsoles out there that gets bald very quickly, but compared to the Dame 6, I feel like there's not much of an upgrade in the outsole grippiness. So Adidas, go back to the drawing board. Go back to the good old days of when you made awesome traction like the Crazy Quicks. Please go back to the size 9 weighs about 420 grams. That's a whole lot heavier than the Dame 6, which weighed slightly over 300 grams, slightly over 350 grams. So what is going on? And it actually feels heavier than the Dame 6, and it actually feels as heavy as the digits show. So that is unfortunate.